Hi, it's Derek from ForeGolf Custom, and today we're looking at Wilson's C300 iron. We've got the forged head and the normal head. There's been a lot of word out online about this club and that, the one goes faster than the other. I'm here to tell you that that isn't the case. We've seen this from fittings here in the bay, that the speed across the different heads really depends on the player and also how you apply the shaft. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe to the channel. We've information here based on fittings. This isn't about what Dave and I think about the club or how we hit the club. It's based on the people that actually hit the club and end up buying the club. And this information that you can use to make a better informed decision. Right, Dave, let's jump straight to player profile. I mentioned that about the speeds. So talk to me about the type of players that you see using each of the heads. Let's start with the 300 forged head first.
Let's go back to your original point on speed off the face. It might be a couple of miles an hour, but by the time you factored in shaft and feel and how the player looks at it and its visual on it, it then ends up not making a difference to the client, as long as he picks the right from a head's perspective.
So the forged head though, I know that there are two different shape profiles.
Yeah.
So is that what's making the difference then for the people?
I think what you tend to see in the non-forged is quite a bit of offset. And then when you get to the toe one, it's neat, it's tidy, it's progressive. I guess traditionally would have been for the guy with a slight miss left, slight miss right. It is very, very straight, very, very controllable, good product. As much as it might be a distance story, like the C300 normal.
And I know we hate to say this, but handicap is that sort of more better player then, or is it just more consistent ball striker, or where are you placing it?
I think more about miss than anything else. The traditional C300 it wants to draw. There's a good profile and there's a good offset on it. So traditionally, if you'd missed the ball to the right, which tends to be a lot of us as amateur golfers, that's where that profile comes in. And then if you've got a slight miss left or right, or you hit it quite straight, then I think that's where the forged one comes in. But I wouldn't necessarily rule out either model based on handicap. So one's neater and smaller, one's bigger and more forgiving. So one looks forgiving, but they're both extremely forgiving products.
So on the basis then of a little bit more draw, so golfers at home, if your tendency to be that sort of across the line, if you're right-handed and you miss it, relatively far right, or you have a very pronounced slice, the C300 iron is the one to look at. And then if you're more of a sort of a slight miss left or right and you want a smaller profile, then the forged is the one to take a look at. Shafts then, this is where I think this is kind of all the club heads that we've tested in the last while, I think this is the one where you got to get the shaft just right. And it's where I always say fitting is a big deal, but I think this is where, so let's do C300 forged head. What's the best shaft in that for the players out there?
Well, I think the shaft is the place where you get round the speed differentials, because if you get that part evened up and if you had it in the same, they'd both play pretty similar. So C300, again with its offset, again for the slight miss right from a cutter's perspective, tends to be a little bit softer. So a KBS Tour 90, there's lots of KBS products available in these products. So the lighter, softer, the 105, more release through the head just to encourage that draw shape.
And in the forged head then?
One of the differences that I've found fitting-wise and the difference of the two is that the forged has more spin on it. Now again, it's a slightly weaker loft profile than the C300. So I've tended to try and manage the spin a little bit more effectively through the shaft. So it's tended to be a KBS-C taper product, where it's a little bit more control of flight, it's a little bit more control to spin.
Yeah.
And then you can get the two performances pretty much the same from that perspective.
There's also dynamic gold AWT in that head, which is good. It's more stable tip, keeps it online. But if you happen to be, I guess, a little bit of a slicer and you want a bit more stability, that C-Taper Light is a great product, even in the C300 normal head, because it would just help to stabilize the head more and keep it a little bit more online. It won't let it pull hook if you do happen to get it more on path or online. So given the faces then, and given the different speeds that they've said online, which we don't think it's there, why would you pick one over the other?
I think the preference ends up, as a technician, I would look at it from a miss perspective. But from an amateur golfer's perspective, I think they're both similar in what they're trying to do. Yes, there's a visual change. So you can put a lot of that choice back to the client and say, well, what looks better and what feels better? Do you feel a difference in the forged? Is the cast soft enough that you don't need it? So you then, instead of stereotyping it on handicap, bring it back to the player. They're both forgiving. They're both speed related.
They've got that urethane.
They've both got
there.
urethane. They've both got it as deep in the front. Granted, you can't fit it into the top of the forged, but it's still there. It's still present. It's still where you're supposed to hit the golf ball at the bottom half of the golf club.
So hit it, get a look at it.
Yeah, don't rule one out because it's a good player's club and I'm not a good player. If it looks better and it feels better, then play it.
The urethane is doing a fabulous job in this iron, and it's allowing 76% of the head in the C300 to literally float on top of it. It's this urethane and the way that the face flexes into it is what's giving it the ball speeds. But don't be too hung up on which head is what. You really should go for the head that looks the best, and certainly if you get a hit of it, the one that feels better for you. Fitting is really important, like Dave said. The shaft is critical to get the best from the two heads, and in order to get the right shaft to suit the player and then match the head up into it. That's the way to do it. Also, in terms of price, this bang's a really heavy buck. It's only €800 for 7 irons fully fitted and just under 900 for the graphite version. So this could be the best club head that you've never heard of. Hope that you're liking what you're seeing here in terms of the channel. It's all about fitting, so if you do and you've learned something new here, give us a like and also subscribe to the channel. We've all the information coming down the track. And until then, thanks for watching. Flex Face, and the Flex Face. If I keep saying Flex Face, that you like, Derek. Move on and subscribe. Thanks for watching. The Flex Face.